Hey everybody, before we start this podcast episode, I wanted to let you know about our Patreon community. Patreon is a great way to support Black with No Cream financially. If you're enjoying these podcast episodes, we invite you to check it out. When you sign up, you get a bunch of amazing perks, such as our live streams that we do every single month, bonus Morning Roast podcast episodes are exclusive, Discord group chat, Q&A with our interview guest, instant access to our How to Charge a Client guide, merch discounts, and all of that, plus a shit ton of other stuff. So if you're interested in that, definitely sign up, jointhehomies.com or patreon.com/BlackWithNoCream, whatever you prefer. We'll see you there. And we are back with another Black with No Cream podcast. New episode every single Wednesday and Sunday. I'm your host, Ben Haggerty, a.k.a. Ben Real Verse World, here with my sidekick, David Malave. Today is Wednesday, the motherfucking 16th of October. And we are late uploading this, so my apologies. But before we start this episode, the title of this shit is called, Dave, what's it called? He's drinking his kombucha. I put him on the spot.
Boom, boom, boom. What camera should I buy?
What camera should I buy? A common question I'm asked almost 50 times a day. So let's get to the intro right now and then jump into it.
Welcome to the Morning Roast, a place where you will get the most info from a deep dive into the topics that really need life with your host, Ben and Dave, coming to you live today. Grab your cup of joe and take some fucking notes, you bitch.
Welcome back to the podcast. Dave is fun to do this with. Who do you think got shot in the intro? If you watch this shit on YouTube, who do you think shot who first?
I think I definitely won that shit.
Bullshit.
You see that face after I shot? That shit was fire.
If you're listening to this on audio and you don't know what we're talking about, there's a beautiful video that goes along with the amazing intro song that you hear every week. And
the VFX is next level, guys. I'm telling you.
Yeah, the VFX is next level. We left the green screen in the shit on purpose because we thought it was funny, and now I kind of wish we would have took it out. All right, so anyway, welcome back to the podcast, Morning Roast. If you don't know what Morning Roast is, it's where we deep dive into different topics. Basically, shit that we see asked in our creative community, we dive into that. If you're not part of the creative community, you can join at BWNC.com/join. If you want to join the Patreon community, you can do that as well. If you feel like financially supporting Black with No Cream, what we're doing over here, you can do that at patreon.com/BlackWithNoCream. Tight. All right. What's the shit called?
What camera should I buy?
What camera should I buy? A question that I swear I am asked. I don't know how many times I've been asked. It'd be cool if I could keyword search that shit on my Instagram alone and it's got to be over 5,000 times. I guarantee you I've been asked that shit.
I feel like you could.
Easily.
In the
you mean
DM
do it?
search, you could search camera.
Yeah,
probably.
maybe. But the last one I got, it was from some chick. I don't remember her name, but I screenshotted the question. It was just like, hi, what camera would you recommend for someone who is just starting out in photography? I feel like at this point, this is a morning roast we should have done a while ago because so many people ask it and don't really let me know much about them or what they do or how they're going to use it or why they need it, if it's for photo, video, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This question, she at least told me like what part of someone who's just getting started out in photography. At least there's something there. But there's also the question that I always have to follow up and ask if I'm going to take the time out of my day to answer this shit. And it is, how much money do you want to spend? Because some people will come to me and be like, hey, I want to get into photo video stuff. What camera should I buy? I have $300. And I'm like, oh shit. And I don't know why, just because I shoot shit, it's maybe kind of leaned on that I'm just like an expert in all things that are cameras and know from the lowest of the low to the highest of the high, all specs and shit. I do not. So I don't know what to tell you to buy at what would you buy at $300?
A GoPro.
Probably a GoPro.
Here 6 or something.
Yeah.
Like two models ago.
Right.
That's what I would buy.
I think you can get the new GoPro for like $400. I don't even know.
Yeah,
I don't
save an extra 100 and get the new one, and then just roll with that.
Right.
I shot mad shit on the GoPro early.
The GoPro, yeah.
GoPro takes fire photos.
Right.
Honestly, they're just all. But I feel like you can even punch in and not get like the super wide.
I think they've even tried to fix that issue with the bulging effect. Or
Yeah, I think that bulging's gone.
Yeah.
I went on trips and took insane photos with the GoPro, just like.
Yeah, I would take it. I took the GoPro with me to what was that fucking place? Not by the it's like near the Bahamas. I don't know, but shit was tight as fuck.
Yeah.
You get the fucking GoPro selfie with the chopper or
yeah.
whatever in the background. You look like a legend.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I guess that is a great thing that you could start suggesting. But I think that what I kind of wanted to use this for was anyone that is curious when it comes to purchasing new gear. How to go about doing research and understanding what you need and what your needs are. Because for me, if I'm asked the question, it's just a blind question. What camera should I buy? I don't fucking know. I don't know who you are. I don't know what your business is. I don't know if you have a business. I don't know if you have clients. I don't know what kind of projects you're trying to capture. So I can talk about my experience when I go into buying cameras, which I feel like might help. And you can as well, because you bought the 1DX, which is a big purchase, and you did it when you didn't really have clients at the time. So it's interesting to know, why did you spend the bread on that at the time where you might not have had the return, but you could have seen the return in your head. Mm-hmm. But I don't think people think like that yet. I think, or especially people who are just getting into it. I think a lot of people understand that there's cameras out there that can capture cool shit, and you can go and make some fire ass shit on your Instagram on your next vacation. They want to know now. I need to know what drone I should get. Everyone just has those questions. So I think the best thing you could ever do is first outline what you need it for. What are your goals, right? So if you're let's get an example. I want to get into shooting wedding photos. What camera should I buy? And if your problem is that you only have $300 or $400 and you're getting a GoPro, the problem is most people probably aren't going to hire you to shoot a wedding if your gear that you're coming with is a GoPro. Now, you can get hired to shoot a wedding with a GoPro by people who don't really give a shit. And B, if you create cool looks with the GoPro, that becomes like a style of yours. So they don't even care what camera you use because they've seen the shit you've captured before. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if that becomes like a specialty, like Cash, she may go out and shoot Cash Money. She may go out and shoot some shit with Will Smith utilizing a $300 360 camera. She doesn't need to have a fucking massive one with DSLRs that point in every direction and it costs $50,000 to use and it takes 3 weeks to process the shit and stitch the shit, whatever. She's able to get by using something that's very consumer affordable and make something look so cool that she could shoot in her backyard and make something look special, and then have someone like Will Smith reach out to her and be like, that's so sick, like, can you do that with me? And it's not about the product anymore. It's about what you do with the product, how you utilize a product. So if you can afford a $10,000 camera or a $300 camera, it's like, how do you elevate the way you create around that? But also going about figuring out which one you want to get is a whole nother story. So like for you, when you went and got the 1DX, what camera did you have before you got your 1DX Mark II? Because for people who don't know, it's a Canon camera. It's like $6,000 or something for just the body. So when you went and bought the body of that camera, what did you have before that?
Canon T4i.
And you were renting shit in between, right?
When I was shooting, I was renting an A7S. And I've talked about it on my podcast, but like I felt like it mattered. I wanted to invest in the quality of my content, even though I was limited in what I had. And so it was worth it. There was a shop near me, and it was worth it for me to pay $100 to drive, get it the same day, drive, to shoot the show, come back the same night, return it.
Right.
And then when it was time for me to get a real camera, because I felt limited in that sense, where it's like if someone calls you to do a job and it's like 10 p.m. and it's tomorrow, or if like something pops up last minute and you can't get to the rental space in time, you know. So I was like, but I cared the most about, and I feel like this is actually something that we should talk about, because you say like someone wants to buy a camera, right? And they say like, if they know they want to shoot weddings, that's great, because then they have a specific goal. But I feel like the most people that want to buy a camera they'll be like, what's the best camera for me? Like, I want to do video, but I also want to do photo. You know what I mean? Or I want to do photo, but I also want to do some video. That's how everyone asks, because people don't know, right? So they're just looking for like, between all the cameras they can buy, they don't know which one can cover them on like the most options, right? Yeah. For me, when I was shooting, I felt like I had what it took as terms of like a photographer in the show space. Of course, I cared about video more, but I was like, I feel like what's going to separate me is I want to be good at both, great at both. Right. So, and when I was looking at the 1DX, I'm like, and I knew at that point I really wanted to invest. Like, this is going to be a camera that's going to last. It's already future proof in the sense of like, it's a top of the line photo camera, and the video quality is amazing. And it already had 4K 60, and I was like, if I'm gonna get a camera that's gonna last me, that's gonna take me, this is an investment that is worth it.
That'll
So
elevate your content over the next several years.
Right. And so in my head, I was already thinking like, cool, like I'm going to make this, because camera is an investment. And so you want a return on the investment, right? The idea is you make the initial outlay, right? And the idea is that's going to allow you to have money making opportunities in the future that will make that back for you. And eventually you will have paid for the camera. Totally. That's how you have to think about it. Right. So that's how I made my decision with that. But
well, and for example too, like my friends, I have some friends that are DPs, directors, and cinematographers. They can do all different jobs, right? And I've had friends who act as DPs who wouldn't get hired for jobs because they didn't own a Red or an Alexa on typical jobs where those were needed to use RE cameras or whatever. And so he had to make a choice to then purchase a Red so that he could stick out and say like, yo, look, I come equipped with my gear, because the problem is when companies or production companies are hiring out these DPs, they're looking at like, all right, we could hire this DP and his rate is 10 grand for the day. Or we could hire that DP and his rate is 10 grand for the day. Plus we have to rent the entire camera package, which is like 3 grand or something. I'm just making up numbers, but like 3 grand. So it's going to cost us 13K. Do we just go with the guy that has it for 10 grand included? Or do we hire this guy or girl who has, we have to purchase other things to make her or him do their job. So it becomes easier just to pull the trigger and be like, well, it's just easier. They're both talented. I wouldn't, say this person might be better at this and this person might be better at that. But the factor comes down to we're saving money by going with this person because they have their own shit. So there's like that factor in things, is that people, you may have had to say you are coming to everyone saying, I want to shoot shows, but I currently shoot with this T3i or whatever the fuck you have. And I have to rent these cameras from the store to be able to come shoot your show. So you want me to hire you to come shoot the show. And you're like, my fee is $300 for the night. And I'm like, all right, cool. And you're like, but I need another 150 because I have to rent the camera. And I'm just like, I could probably find someone else to shoot this show for like the same $300 instead of having to pay $450 for you to rent it. So you would probably have to eat it out of your budget at that time, right? Because you're like, I should.
Yeah, it was straight out of pocket.
Straight out of pocket. So like that was you playing that. But I'm saying if you were trying to move in that way, like, oh, I could do this, but I'm going to charge this much money. Some people may get turned off of that. Where if you have it as an all-inclusive package, you could probably boost your rate and say, my rate is $500 now, because we talk about this in How to Charge a Client Guide, but it's like you can now package that and say like, well, now you have all of this together. But when someone looks at it like, well, I could probably get someone cheaper, you're like, yeah, for sure, go get someone cheaper, that's fine, but I'm a beast at what I do, right? You know what I mean? I'm good at, that's why you hit me up in the first place. So you have to like almost, it's like funny how gear can play a part into how you're capable of capturing. Yeah,
it's interesting.
Something.
I feel like, I mean, it's probably not a perfect comparison, but it's like, you go to college, right, and you get the degree. And the degree is supposed to put you in a higher earning potential, right? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like gear. I feel like you in college you invest into a degree, and then the idea is you're going to make more money down the line to pay the degree versus someone who don't. Right. Probably not the case now, but whatever. Yeah. Cameras, kind of the same way. Like if a DP really wants to be a DP and invests in a Red, that Red now makes him a more like capable DP in terms of like when he goes on projects, he's bringing a better image, which is he's gonna give him better work. Right. He's gonna get paid more. So like, but this is all kind of besides the point. I feel like for this conversation, because it's more so about.
But I think the example goes hand in hand with what gear are you going to get that's going to help elevate you in your goals as far as a creator. Some people. My dad might just want to get a new camera. He'll hit me up and say, hey, I want to get a camera so I can like just have it around and shoot family events and shit. It's like, all right, cool. Like, but if he were to just hit me and say, what camera should I get? I'm like, what the fuck do you need a camera for? Right. And then he's got to now explain, I need this. Well, how much money do you want to spend? My main thing is if you're going to reach out to someone before you do your research, you should at least come with all the information you possibly can pack into that one little paragraph that says, this is what I want to do. This is how much I'm working with. Based on your experience and all the shit you've ever had, what could you do with this? Or what could I do with that? And then it makes it easier for someone to answer. But if you're considering jumping into this, like I was years ago, when I first started, I was online reading every single forum, understanding every single spec that came with all the cameras that I could afford. And the cameras I couldn't afford, I had it on my hit list and was like, when I can make enough money off my shitty gear, I'm going to get that camera.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm going to sell this shit and I'm going to be able to afford that camera. The reason why I want that camera is because it's better than low light and it can shoot 60 frames. And I mean, at the time it was like shooting, you know, whatever, like 120 and 720p or whatever the fuck. Right. And be like, that's so sick. That would kill it for me, you know? So I had to look into why did I need this camera? Why would I use that shit? I want slow motion so I can shoot cinematic content, and I need a Ronin or a Movi or whatever it was at the time. I need that to be able to put motion to my shit. You know what I mean? So if I'm shooting slow motion with a Movi and I'm moving and moving and I'm moving, my shots are going to look cinematic as fuck, and that's going to help me get more real estate gigs. Mm-hmm. That's going to help me get more commercial gigs, whatever it is, by having those tools. But you have to really sit down and kind of ask yourself a few questions. It's like, what do I want to achieve with this camera? You know, if it's wedding photography, maybe you want really, really sharp photos. How are you going to get sharp photos? Is it the camera? Is it the lens? Is it a specific lens? Like, do all lenses give you sharp images? Are they all tight and cool for portraits, or would 11 millimeter not work for that? You have to learn about that shit. You know what I mean? Like, we had a camera store. Did you have like a local camera store near you?
Yeah, that's what one I just talked about.
That's where you would rent your shit from? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I forgot. I thought you did it online. We only had one for a while. Tim worked at that shop.
Ours was Camera Exchange, and it's one of those typical camera stores where like everyone that works there is like mad knowledgeable about every single model. So you can I would even go to them when I didn't know too much, and was like, so what's the difference between if I get this 50 millimeter prime versus like the 24-70 or whatever, like early on.
I can just go to 50 there.
So this one, you know, this one's a little sharper, shallow to feel. Like those people help, but also you watch like a million YouTube videos because it's all over online.
Right.
But I feel like I want to mention something, because I feel like if it's someone asking you, how we started the podcast, like what camera should I buy, right? I feel like the first question you ask, of course, is how much money do you have,
right?
And then your goals, if you know them. But also, do you feel confident in your skills, or are you still learning, right? Because I would much rather you get a T4i and buy a $100 Canon 50 1.8 nifty 50, put it on. And you're gonna get some pretty good photos on that if you just keep learning, you know, and you learn on that. And then when you feel like your skills are limited with the camera that you have, you can decide to move up. You know what I mean? That's the first thing I feel like is so many people, you know,
they need to have the biggest, the best shit. Blah, blah, blah.
You don't need like, if you give a beginner a 5D Mark IV or a 1DX for that matter, like, that's not going to give them any better photos if they don't know how to take the photos.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
versus like start out with, I feel like at first it's get an affordable body,
a low end, affordable body that can compete.
And then get some solid low price lenses. Like I remember I got the 50 1.8, and I realized when I went from the kit lens to the 50 1.8, I was like, oh shit, this is why this shit matters. This is why lenses matter, because the T4i photos are garbage, and then you put a 50 1.8 and you start thinking like, oh, I'm a photographer now.
You know my photos are kind of, but you could really go do jobs with those cameras. Right. How much is that body worth? Do you remember?
The body's worth now probably like $400
right? At the time it was probably like 800 or something.
It's probably like 6, 7,
yeah, there's
8.
still
I mean, I can't remember if it just came out. Because that was like the camera I got in high school.
Those are supposed to be the cameras. There's like it's like when you go, I don't know much about cars, but when I started looking at cars, it's like you understand that there's a Tesla, the Model 3, and then there's like the P, and then there's like a PL, and then there's like some other numbers or letters and shit, and you're like, the fuck are the difference between this? It's all Model 3 car. What does it do? Right. Well, it upgrades specs. The internal parts get better, and as you climb that ladder, you're going to find the more advanced shit. That's why there's a 1-star, there's a motel, and there's a 5-star hotel. You know what I mean? Or even 6 stars and shit. Like there's differences between all this stuff, and what can you afford, and what do you need it for? Can you do what your goals are with the lowest of the low? Can you sleep in a motel? Yes, you can. You could probably get decent sleep in a motel. Are you gonna get the best sleep? Nah. If you go to a 5-star now, you sleeping like a fucking baby.
We're metaphor central out here.
Right, but you did the work to get the money to afford a 5-star hotel over having to sleep in a motel. You know what I mean? Like, you did the work and you did the due diligence to understand why it was important to be in that room and how much it costs to be in that room, and you can afford it because you did everything you needed to do. So you start off, we all, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying we all start off in a motel, but we all started with lower end gear. Like for me, when I got into it, my first camera I bought was a 7D. And I worked all the time to get the money doing valet and all that shit so I could buy a 70. The reason why I got the 70 is because I had already lived with the 70 through a classmate that purchased one, and we shot multiple projects on it, and I saw the capability of it compared to the gear that we had at my school, compared to the gear I had in my high school. You know what I mean? Like, our shit was trash compared to what this new Canon 70 could do. There was a 5D Mark II, I think, at the time that came out, or Mark I. I don't remember if they came out at the same time. And I remember that being even more dope for the photography benefits. But to me at the time, I was like very focused on video. So when it went into it, it was like, well, what specs are going to work out for me in the video world?
Right.
And luckily, the 70 had some fire photos too. So I was like using that for photos, using it for video, starting to understand the difference between lenses, understanding why I needed to switch lenses. When I started getting into real estate, I'm like, man, I need a wide lens. I don't have anything that's wide.
Exactly.
What's a good wide lens? And then I'm asking my homie that shoots photography, hey, dude, what do you suggest? Like, I've seen you take photos. How did you capture this photo?
Right.
You know what I mean? I start asking specific questions like that. Like, how much did it cost you to get that? And then all of a sudden I'm buying the lens for my friend because he wants to upgrade to another one. He has the money to pay for the $3,000 one. And I only have money to pay for the $2,000 one. You know what I mean?
Right.
But people will ask you those questions, and then they don't understand that there's more to it than just a Canon lens because I have a Canon camera. They don't understand that there's all kinds of glass created by all kinds of different companies that all have different unique features to them that can provide you a different look.
Right.
So it's like you had the benefit of going to the store and talking to these nerds about cameras and getting to play with the cameras and getting to look through the lens. And when I went, it blew my mind. Like, being able to go to the store and be like, I was nervous as shit, but they want to sell you this shit. But I'd be like, could I put that lens on there? And just, you're nervous at first.
They're pumped. They need to talk to people.
Yeah, they're like, fuck yeah, go for it. Like, here, check this out. Try this. Oh, if you do this, this will make this better. Oh, if you're outside and it's bright, it's really bright. If you put this thing on the tip of the lens, it makes it so you can shoot in those settings. I'm like, are you fucking serious?
Right.
Now you know what an ND filter is. Then you go over and you realize that ND filters are baked into some video cameras, and then that adds a feature, so it's easier to shoot in this shit. When I go to documentaries, now I know that I can use the ND baked into a what's the camera �𝐋𝐋𝐿 has? Whatever, it doesn't matter. All I'm saying is, by doing the research and understanding like what your limitations are, you'll be able to learn a lot before you have to ask questions. That may make you feel even more novice, and you may be afraid to ask questions too, which is...
I feel like another thing too is if you have rent, like, first off, there are rental services, there's ShareGrid, there's borrow lenses, whatever, right? To rent, like at my place, it was actually, pretty relatively inexpensive. But like, if I'm considering getting a 5D Mark IV or a 1DX, and I've never used one in my life, and I'm trying to make that decision just blindly to spend that money, like, why not go rent the camera for a day and go test shoot it?
Right.
It's like test driving a car off the lot.
Right.
Keeping with the metaphor, like that, because I feel like you're reading all this stuff, but at the end of the day, you want to feel it, you want to try it. Maybe you realize, oh shit, this doesn't have a flip out screen. I hate that, because I hate that about the 1DX.
Right.
Like the not having a flip out screen. It's
trash.
So trash.
That's the only reason why I don't fuck with that camera.
Yeah. Like, and you know what I mean? And I think also using it, you could be like, you know what, maybe I don't need a 1DX, because a 5D Mark IV probably, or Mark III, or probably Mark IV now, is like relatively...
Mark V.
I don't even know. The latest Mark IV, like...
Sony gang.
The 1D is probably like overkill for a lot of people, and especially like you realize, oh, this shit's actually really fucking heavy. Maybe I'd go down, save that much money on the 5D Mark IV, and that means I can afford this lens that I need.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Which could get you more shots, and you may use it more because it's less heavy, and now you might toss around your neck a little bit more because it doesn't hurt as bad.
Right.
And now it's funny because sometimes people think they need the best shit possible. I just started out and I don't know. I just need this. I need the best shit.
I need the Ronin X. I need the DJI.
Do you? Because when you come into it and you think you just need all this shit because you saw some YouTuber use it, then you're buying all this stuff and you're not learning how to use it, and then you look like a fucking idiot because you don't know how to use your gear. You know what I mean? Like, that shit happens all the fucking time. You need to learn what the shit does. Learn what it can do. Right. Learn why having a fucking full frame versus a crop sensor will make your shit look different, and what it can do to your lenses. Because all of a sudden you think you got a 50 and it turns into like a 70 and you can't figure out why.
Right, exactly.
It's because you just
get like a vignette on your lens because you got like, a full frame with the...
Why does this shit look like a fisheye? motherfucker, do the research, look into it. I've read so many forums, you're reading so much. There's so many technical nerds out there that know the insides and outsides of these cameras, and they talk about it all day long. Also, when it comes to doing research, this is what I would suggest as well. The best thing you could do is look at other people that are doing things that you want to do, right? What are they using? How are they using it? I think that's a problem. I guess that's probably why I get annoyed on Instagram, is that people are just like, dude, what camera do you use? And it's like, I would have done a million things before I ever burned that bridge on it.
Right. We've done one in this about, we've done a morning roast about what camera do you use. We've done a morning roast about that question specifically.
Oh yeah, right.
I forgot, because it's like, remember that dude?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Because it was like a direct disregard for the content. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's almost like going. We talked about it, it's like going up to a golfer and he hits like a hole in one, and you're like, what club is that?
Yeah,
like,
what club is that?
You're disregarding the skill that it took to get the hole in one. You just care about what he used, which is irrelevant. You know what I mean?
Which I think I have even responded to people saying like my iPhone or T2i or something like that. Like I've said, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I figured out a way to take this. But also, if you probably scroll back 5 posts, I put what camera I use because I usually share that knowledge. So do the research on it. Maybe I'd make a video, but if I'm not, who else is shooting like me that has a YouTube channel that does reviews on this shit? Or who else will talk about, if I say, oh, I have the A7 III or whatever the fuck, then go research why I'm using that camera, or why that camera is powerful in concert photography, or why that camera is powerful to use as a BTS camera or wedding camera or whatever, or who is doing wedding videos that's doing reviews on wedding videos, or you know what I mean, who's doing reviews on like fast paced sports photography or some shit.
I mean, there's even this goes to anything, because you could think like someone wants a Ronin S, right? Because they see you use Ronin S, I use one, you see people like, oh, it must be amazing.
Totally.
But then you shoot weddings, and your favorite wedding photographer actually, or videographer or whatever, actually uses a glide cam because he feels like the motion's more smooth and it kind of fits the vibe of weddings more. And then he tells you that, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe I should get a glide cam.
Right.
Or like it works better. Or you get the Ronin and you realize it's too robotic for a wedding or whatever.
Sure. Or you don't know, and you never took the time to figure out how to dial in the settings to figure out if you could make it close to the glide cam, if you came from a glide cam background, and then you get into, but it's all relative to how you use the gear and what it will do for you. How can you elevate your shit? Because you may look at it and be like, is it the camera that this person's using, or is it the lens? Is it what are they using? Like, why does it look better than mine? Why? I just started last month and I cannot figure out why they're better than me. Maybe it's because they've been doing this shit for 5 years. Maybe it's because they had less than you did and figured out how to make it look amazing. If you can figure out how to make something trash, something that's so cheap and affordable, maybe it's beat down, used, has a scratch on the lens, and you still figured out a way to hustle. A great example of this is my boy Slimagination. That motherfucker had the lowest end camera, just a stock lens. He's figured out how to use a fisheye lens, and the way he creates with that quality of gear is sick as fuck. He just did Australia with Q, and he has like a knockoff Zion crane, some knockoff version of it, and like a T something. I don't remember what he has.
Why don't you talk about
and he's able to, but what I'm saying is that he's able to use low quality as low affordable, because that's not his primary thing. He doesn't just shoot videos. He's an artist. He's more focused on painting murals and doing amazing shit, and just has the camera to document his shit. And then people see how ill he is with the editing and the way he is able to take the footage from A to B and make it look amazing. They're hiring him to shoot them now. You know what I mean? Right. Schoolboy Q hired him to come to Australia to capture and document the shit, and he did a great job. Yeah. It might not be the crispiest video. It might not be. He might not know how to use slow motion properly or how to use the crane properly, but he's able to find ways to like twist that shit and make it look amazing. Right. So it's not about, you know what I mean? Yeah, now that he's learning from the bottom. Can you imagine what it'd be like if he started getting the proper gear?
But you got to learn to use the gear first.
Yeah, by starting at the bottom, he was able to, I think, make strides with when he gets to the top. Like it'll just be dumb crazy.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's to create. Like he's a creator, so like if you're a creator, then it doesn't matter what gear you have. Because for example, you talked about it like you even, I remember you said something like you suggested him to use his iPhone for some shit, because it's like, yo, pull your iPhone out
totally
and film. Like I'll even give an example, like the video for Mary that just dropped.
Yep.
It was the BET Awards, and something happened, and they didn't let me bring my camera in. I had all my camera gear ready to shoot the whole thing, because that was like the last part of the story, was the big event. and I couldn't bring they didn't get something correct, and I couldn't bring my camera in. And at that moment, I was like, I almost thought about just saying fuck it.
Did we talk on the phone when that happened?
Yeah, because I was telling you, I was like,
fuck, dude, should I just leave and go?
Like, well, it was for me. It's like, though, I shot all week for that video, right? And this is like the finale of the video. So it's like, at one point, is it not my fault? I want to shoot with my gear. Like, right. The biggest part of the video is going to be trash without my gear. And then I decided, fuck it. Like, I've been this far. Like, I care about this story, and I literally went in there.
I feel like
all over BET Awards and filmed the whole shit with my iPhone.
Because your fear was, you're like, dude, well, at first you weren't able to go. You were about to can it because you couldn't do anything with your bags. You're like, well, the fuck am I gonna leave my bags? And then it was like, damn. Well, it was like, can't they put that shit in the green room or do something like that?
They didn't let me inside. But
right.
The photographer couldn't get his cameras in either.
So you had to drop his shit.
And he luckily lived downtown.
So clutch.
So we went back to his place, dropped the shit off, went inside, and then I was just literally filming it all with my iPhone, following Mary around all of the BT Awards with my iPhone, getting all the same stuff I would have gotten, but with the iPhone. Mm-hmm. And then found a way to cut it. But
guess what? The iPhone is fucking amazing. The iPhone keeps getting more amazing. So is whatever shitty Android phone you have too. But like, I'm just saying, the technology in our pocket is getting so advanced. Some people ask me about that. Like, I just want to start doing this. I'm like, yo, you could use your phone to capture some amazing shit. Start finding out how to edit photos. Start learning what programs you could use to bring your phone footage in and edit that shit to make it look amazing.
Yo, it's the same thing.
I use my phone every fucking job. Like, right. Even if I have my cameras on my hips, there's sometimes where the phone just works better. It just works better on the fly. Or if I don't have my cameras and I'm over here and that all of a sudden some shit happens, you can document that shit.
I remember we were in Copenhagen. We were it was that really sick like port with all this. You probably don't remember, but we were riding on bikes.
Oh yeah,
we were riding on bikes, and we had our camera, and like the view looked amazing, but there was no real way to like keep your arm steady and bike and hold your A7S up to get the shot.
Right.
And I remember you had just got the XS or whatever, and you just like held your phone up, and that shit was stabilized.
Stable as
super.
Fuck.
The light was amazing.
Yeah.
I remember we were on tour and Raven would be taking photos on her iPhone, and I had an iPhone 8 at the time, and I'm like, how the like, for some reason I thought her iPhone had like special powers or something, because her photos on her iPhone looked amazing.
Yeah.
I was like, but it was all about, she understood how to like manipulate the exposure on the thing, and then she'd take the photo and really color it like it was a real photo.
Right.
And any layman person looking at the thing would think it was a camera, like, because she shot it
all day.
But like like we talked about earlier, $400 for a GoPro, like you can get some sick content. Like Gimbal God.
Mm-hmm. That guy, the whole career is based on the GoPro.
Everyone who follows him probably doesn't get it that he just has a GoPro, literally has a GoPro on a stick.
Right.
And he's an amazing snowboarder. So,
right.
But like all that stuff is like, that's the same camera that you have.
Right. Now can he go shoot the headliner at a festival and capture some amazing shots of an artist from a pit that's 30, 40 feet away? No, because that tool will not do that job.
Right.
But can you use it to cover a lot of ground outside of that? Of course. Could you be backstage with that artist at that festival and capture some amazing BTS with the GoPro? Absolutely. So it all comes down to how you use your gear and what you have, the ability to purchase, what you're purchasing it, why you're purchasing it. Just our main tip for this shit is do the due diligence of understanding what shit does.
The last thing I'll say, I think is I think lenses are more important. I mean, everyone says this, but just reiterate, lenses are more important than the body. If you have a limited budget, get the affordable body and get yourself a solid lens. If you can get yourself a solid lens, you're gonna go further than an expensive body. And now you only have like space, enough money to get like the lowest lens possible.
And even more important, or not more important, but you don't need a brand new camera. Go find used shit. Used shit is, everyone got into the same hobby with the same intentions as us and fucking dipped out right away when they realized how hard it was to figure out what the fucking shutter was. You know what I mean? So there are mad cameras sitting in a pawn shop somewhere that you can go scoop up on the low and start fucking with and start learning right now. You can go buy a nice quality camera that ended up in a pawn shop for whatever reason and get that shit on the low right now. Offer up, Craigslist, like eBay. Literally, people buy shit all day long used just because they're not impatient and they don't need it overnight. And also another hack going off of rental shit, like you were talking about the power of just being able to go and test drive a lens, because you might not know if that's the one for you or a body or whatever it is, and you go and rent it for the day and use it for a shoot, something specific. You have all kinds of access to shit like that. Like we talked to a homie that founded ShareGrid, all these different ways.
Right, and ShareGrid, you can also buy used lenses, used things on there too.
And you can do borrow lenses. There's tons of websites like this that are for you to rent gear for jobs, right? But another hack that I like to use is a thing called Amazon, because you know what? You get that motherfucker, you don't like it, they got that return policy
you
dialed
Amazon
in.
return it.
Send that bitch back. Hey, sorry, came too late. And you know what? You just got to borrow it for free.
Right.
And I've done it a few times. And when
you should listen to JR's podcast too, because he has an awesome story about
he did it with MacBooks.
With the MacBooks.
Yeah. So there's ways around this shit for you to try things out. You just have to have a nice little credit card. But that, I think, summarizes all of this. I want to get to the iTunes review of the day and the question of the day from our Patreon members. What do we do first? A review or the question?
We'll do the question.
All right. So what is the question? And if you don't know, you can submit your questions by joining us on Patreon, patreon.com/blackwindowcream. You can do it in the question of the day thread on our Discord channel.
So the question of the day we're going to go with today is from Kaiser. And he says, how many revisions are acceptable before sending another invoice for edits?
Fire. I think it all depends per project and what you're doing. So if you don't understand what this means, he's just talking about doing a project. Say you shoot a fucking ad, 30-second commercial, and your client pays you $5,000 to shoot, direct, edit, whatever, $5,000 for it. And if you don't put in there $4,000 or $5,000, you will get 3 versions of this edit. So 3 revisions of what I'm going to send you as an edit. I'll make my version of it first. I send it to you. That's one. You look at it and say, we love this. Could we switch out this shot with this shot? You say,
change
of course.
the whole song?
Yeah, of course. You send it back. You swap the shots. Now the second revision, they see it and they go, we love this, but yes, the song isn't working for us anymore. Can we switch it out to something a little bit more upbeat? Of course. And then they send it back, and the next thing you know, 60 days later, you've been going back and forth doing revision after revision after revision because you didn't put a clause in there that says this fee will allow for you to do what however many revisions I'm going to give you. Let's work it out. If you want more, if you think you're going to need a lot, if you say you're working with a big company and they have tons of people that are going to have to like put their 2 cents in on this, you should plan for a more absurd amount of revisions. And you, of course, want to give them the time to collect their thoughts and do all this shit, but you need to do it in a timely manner. Otherwise, your project's going to last forever. So I think that it's hard to send more invoices, but I think after a while where it kind of becomes absurd, you have to start putting your foot down and be like, hey guys, I'm totally down to keep doing this. I can do about 2 more revisions, but after that, I'm gonna have to start charging you X amount of dollars for each revision because this is exceeding my limit of what I'm doing and I need to wrap this project up because it's no longer worth it for you if you spent 10 days of edit time when you only let them charge you, or you charge them for 2 days of edit time.
Right, and we talk about this in the guide too.
We do talk about this in the
But I think it's also, I think it's valuable if you could, like you did it one time, where you just, if you state that up front, they go into it knowing that they have a limit and there's going to be X amount for more revisions. So that way you're setting that standard at the outset. I think also, one thing I've always thought is interesting about this is like, I feel like a lot of people are always in the position of you want to impress this client, especially if it's your first client or it's your first time working with them, right? So you want to, you feel like you want to be more lenient in the sense of like trying to over deliver. But and then what we talk about is like the more yes, that's important, and we all do it. Like just accommodate, because the future business is more important than like the time it's taking right now, most of the time. But also like, especially if it's like a rate for this job, like if you're allotting for 2 days of editing, you end up spending 10. Your average rate on that day is way lower than you would have ever taken for the job.
Right.
And you have to protect your time because those days you're spending on the edit, you can make money elsewhere.
Right.
So
hopefully that answers your question. But everything always depends project to project. But yeah, always put your foot down and try to put a quote for X amount of revisions because you're going to hate your life. All right. So review of the day goes to, who's it going to?
Damo.
Oh yeah, here it is. Damo Damo. He's been fucking super active in the Discord. Appreciate the boy. He made a cool video on his YouTube channel talking about why people should fuck with Black Window Cream. We appreciate you. So we definitely gonna send you some stickers. He said 5 stars. BWNC Black Window Cream has been a part of my everyday routine for a few months now. If you're a creator of any kind, this is the podcast for you. Tons of jewels being dropped every day from people who work directly in the field, whether pre-production, production, post-production. Ben, Dave have what you need. He's so right. If you do photography, this is a great place to stumble upon editing tips and tricks. This is the place. Basically, you guys have been working with your favorite artists and collaborating with the most. And this shit goes deep. He goes, I would highly recommend becoming a member of their interactive Discord application where you get to speak with the legendary creators themselves. Man, this guy, nothing but positive shit coming out of his mouth all the time. So appreciate that. DM me your address so we can send you these stickers. We'll get them out. And if you guys want to be up to collect some of these Black Window Cream stickers, the OG ones, they're not even in our store anymore. All you gotta do is drop a fire ass review on iTunes and leave your Instagram handle in the fucking thing, the description, and then it's lit. We'll send it out to you. All right, cool. This Sunday we have CJ Wallace episode dropping publicly. CJ Wallace directed a very bizarre documentary about The Price is Right called The Perfect Bid, and he is also the creative director for Currency. So look forward to that episode, and that's it. Peace out. Yeah, bitch.